36.4 Roentgens per hour. That is your reality. The baseline background noise of a dead planet. You have exactly 3 hours before your cells systematically stop dividing. The year is 2038. You are 41 years old. Iodine supplements stopped being biologically effective 3 years ago. Your thyroid is already a necrotic lump of tissue. Your resting heart rate is 112 beats per minute. The fragile capillaries in your sinus cavity are the first to rupture under acute radiation syndrome. You wipe it away. The motion costs you 12 calories of kinetic energy you cannot afford to burn. Outside the reinforced concrete, the surface temperature is minus 14 degrees Celsius. The ash never stops falling. It carries strontium 90 straight into the groundwater. A single 9mm hollow point bullet weighs precisely 7.45 grams. It is the most valuable physical asset you own, not for hunting, for the immediate exit strategy. But you are not ready to utilize it yet. Survival is a stubborn biological imperative. It has been 4,212 days since you last processed an organic human voice. The Iridium satellite constellation decayed in orbit 6 years ago. The grid is permanently offline. You lock the respirator in place. The stiff rubber seal bites into your irradiated skin. Every excursion to the surface statistically reduces your life expectancy by 72 hours. You are expending energy to chase a statistical anomaly, a rumor of an unlooted FEMA supply cache. You step out. The crosswind hits your center of mass at 40 meters per second. This is not cinematic fiction. There are no mutated predators to fight. Your only physical enemy is invisible. It travels at the speed of light and mechanically shreds your DNA. You consume 200 calories an hour, just maintaining core body temperature at 36 degrees. You have exactly 800 calories of stored adipose tissue remaining on your skeletal frame. Mathematics dictate your central nervous system will shut down from starvation in exactly 4 days. The plotted coordinates point to a subterranean shelter 3.2 kilometers north. You calculate the distance and caloric burn. It is mathematically a one-way trip. But your legs continue to move. The human brain is hardwired to delay the inevitable cessation of function. You do not hope. Hope is a psychological luxury that burns unnecessary glucose. You simply execute the algorithm of survival. Contract muscles, inhale filtered oxygen, ignore the cellular degradation. The metallic taste of synthetic iodine in your throat mixes with the heavy copper taste of your own blood. Your primary air filter is at 89% capacity. Breathing becomes a conscious mechanical struggle. A logical question echoes in the hollow chamber of your skull. How did you end up as the last breathing organism on a sterile rock? You don't even know it yet. But the factual answer to that question is far worse than the radiation slowly boiling your blood. The timeline resets. The year is 2005. You are 8 years old. Your core body temperature is 35.8 degrees Celsius. You are experiencing early-stage caloric deficit. You define hunger purely as a persistent mechanical ache in your abdomen. Your biological mother earns $7.25 an hour at a textile sorting facility. The rent for this 90-square-foot concrete box is $600. The arithmetic does not converge. You do not have a childhood. You are enrolled in a preliminary course on absolute resource scarcity. You learn early that human dignity is a strictly artificial concept. It is a commodity purchased with fiat currency. Without capital, you are biologically classified by the system as expendable biomass. This is your trauma. It is not poetic. It is a permanent neurological reconfiguration of your prefrontal cortex. You memorize the bitter, highly acidic taste of cheap instant coffee. It smells like burnt copper and concentrated stomach acid. This is your permanent sensory anchor. It is the exact scent in the air when the property management enforcers kick the door off its hinges. You make a calculated, logical decision. You will never be the statistical victim of this equation again. Fast forward. The year is 2015. You are 18. You willfully integrate into the financial system to extract its resources. You sign a legally binding contract for $42,000 in federal student loans. You trade your future biological output for a certified degree in predictive macroeconomics. You study systemic failure rates, supply chain vulnerabilities, the absolute physics of societal collapse. You realize global society is an over-leveraged machine operating on a 0.5% margin of error. You drink cheap instant coffee. The acidic taste triggers the trauma response, forcing you to keep working. The year is 2026. You are 29 years old. You are a senior risk analyst for a Tier 1 global logistics conglomerate. Your base compensation is $112,000 per fiscal year. Your resting heart rate is consistently above 90. Your blood cortisol levels are chronically elevated. The office environment is strictly temperature controlled to 21 degrees Celsius to maximize employee yield. It is April 9th. At exactly 1400 hours, your predictive models flag a terminal anomaly. A localized conflict in the Eastern Hemisphere has permanently severed the primary semiconductor and fertilizer supply routes. By your exact calculations, the global agricultural supply chain will experience total failure in 8.5 months. Mass starvation is a mathematical certainty. The global system is structurally compromised beyond repair. You compile the raw data, you bypass middle management and send the report directly to the executive board. 32 minutes later, you are summoned to the secure conference room on the 52nd floor. The chief operations officer does not look at your face. He looks exclusively at your printed data parameters. He slides a non-disclosure agreement across the table. It consists of 70 pages of absolute legal bindings. He confirms your analysis. The board has known for 3 weeks. They have zero intention of warning the public. Warning the population would trigger an immediate, unmanageable market collapse. Capital assets must be preserved. Next to the document is an access card to a Class A subterranean corporate survival facility. A bunker pass, room for 1 unit of essential personnel. Biological dependents are strictly prohibited from entry. This is your point of no return. You have precisely 60 seconds to process the variables and choose. You can alert your mother. You can leak the data to the press. You can die with your moral integrity intact. But you remember the peel-in wallpaper, the $600 eviction notice, the absolute vulnerability of poverty. You sign your name. You sell out the human race for reinforced concrete and guaranteed caloric intake. You take the card. The transaction is complete. You are officially an active accomplice to mass extinction. Your societal value drops to 0, but your individual survival probability spikes to 84%. You smell the coffee from the executive machine. It smells exactly like burnt copper. It smells like the poverty you just escaped. You thought this was the ultimate victory, a mathematical triumph over a flawed biological destiny. You successfully traded your humanity for a guaranteed pulse and an air filtration system. But your predictive models were flawed. You forgot one critical variable in the equation. Concrete degrades, filters clog, and you have no idea what isolation does to the human nervous system. October 2028, you are 31. Your mathematical model of the collapse worked with an error margin of only 14 days. Global logistics failed. Inflation exceeded the critical threshold. Famine arrived. You feel no sorrow. You feel a deep, cold satisfaction at your own accuracy. The 12-ton steel plug cuts you off from the agony of 8 billion people. Pressure equalizes. You enter your new world, 140 square meters of reinforced concrete. You justify your choice with logic. You are preserving the gene pool. You are a rational corporate investment. You have a 10-year supply of dehydrated organics, absolute food security. The environment is totally sterile. No viruses, no bacteria, no unpredictable social contacts. Closed-loop recycling. You drink your own sweat, purified through carbon filters. 2030. You are 33. Survivor's euphoria ends. The phase of mechanical organism exploitation begins. You turn every day into a brutal bureaucratic procedure to avoid sanity loss. Life is no longer a process. It is a strictly regulated production quota. Dry calculation. Intake 1150 calories. Expenditure 900. Air filter inspection twice daily. Hydroponic pipe cleaning every 72 hours. Deviating from the schedule by even 4 minutes triggers a physiological panic attack. Your pulse is frozen at 60 beats per minute. You have become an organic appendage to the ventilation. The monotonous drone of the turbines at 50 Hz becomes your only background noise. Biology does not tolerate a vacuum. In the absence of stimuli, your nervous system attacks itself. You start talking to sensor readings. You give them personalities. You lose 14 kilograms of muscle mass due to critical hypokinesia. Bones rapidly lose calcium. 2031, you are 34. The illusion of absolute control suffers its first microscopic crack. The sealing ring on the exterior valve dries out from radiation temperature fluctuations. The gap is only 0.3 millimeters, a negligible physical value. But it is enough for heavy radioactive dust to begin leaking into the sterile loop. Your wrist dosimeter emits its first dry click in 3 years. 12 rads, insignificant, the equivalent of a standard chest X-ray. But this number will never reset to 0. Radiation is a cumulative biological debt. It will stay in your bone marrow forever, in the nuclei of your liver cells. The air in the bunker changes chemical composition. Your receptors pick it up, the smell of ozone, and a sharp metallic taste on the membrane of your tongue. This is exactly the taste of that cheap instant coffee from your poverty-stricken apartment. The scent of hopelessness. In this moment, you realize a simple physical truth. You are not in a escape pod. You are in a concrete tomb equipped with a delayed execution system. March 2033. You are 36 years old. 7 years of total isolation. Your nervous system is in deep power save mode. At 340 hours, the main bearing of the primary filtration turbine fails. Metal grinds, the rotor jams, the monotonous hum you grew used to abruptly snaps. Absolute vacuum silence follows. It is the most terrifying sound on the planet. The digital panel issues a dry verdict. Oxygen supply has completely ceased. In your isolated volume, exactly 180 cubic meters of breathable air remain. Given your current lung capacity, CO2 concentration will be lethal in 9 hours. The spare carbon filter is in Sector B storage, 400 meters across the surface. You must go outside for the first time in 2,550 days. You don a heavy-duty chemical protection suit. Weight of equipment, 32 kilograms. The rubber has dried with time. Every movement restricts muscles unaccustomed to physical load. Your pulse climbs to 140. Adrenals dump a toxic dose of cortisol into your blood. You press the manual pressure release. The mechanism reacts with a 2-second delay. The blast door shudders and slides. The vacuum seal ruptures. You are instantly knocked down by a shockwave of freezing air. Temperature minus 18. This is not Earth. This is a dead mathematical abstraction of strontium and radioactive ash. Gravity feels unbearable. Due to muscle atrophy, every step requires maximum contraction. The dosimeter on your wrist goes wild. Background, 24 Roentgens per hour. You plan to cover 400 meters in 15 minutes. You ignored environmental resistance. Ash acts like quicksand. Your quadriceps burn with excess lactic acid. The helmet fan fails. You begin inhaling your own carbon dioxide. Hypoxia. At the 180-meter mark, coordination fails. Your vestibular system errors out. Fall. Knee strikes a piece of rebar. The synthetic fabric holds, but the joint deforms. Acute pain shoots through the nervous system. Fragmented microfracture of the patella. But you crawl. The biological imperative is stronger than the structural bone damage. Storage B. You rip the lock, spending the last glycogen reserves in your liver. 30 kilograms of dead weight, an activated carbon cylinder, the price of your life. The return journey is pure physiology of agony. You don't think, you just contract muscle. Airlock, you fall in, the lock seals, the chemical cleaning cycle launches automatically. You tear it off. The air tastes like acid, but your lungs suck it in. Expedition duration, 42 minutes. You replaced the part. You restored the system. But physics demands payment. The fee is charged to your bone marrow. 185 rads. You have officially crossed into stage 1 acute radiation syndrome. You survived, but your body's mathematics have started a countdown that cannot be stopped. September 2035. You are 38. Your organism adapted. You survived the acute phase by totally restructuring your metabolism. Hair follicles atrophied first. Your epidermis is covered in microscopic scars. But you survived. You stabilized the system. You took absolute control over the physics. The illusion of power begins with micromanagement. Your brain compensates for isolation with hyperfixation. Hydroponic yield increased by 14.3%. You synthesized optimal nitrates from your own organic waste. The loop is perfect. Reverse osmosis efficiency, 99.9%. The water is crystal clear. No more wasted motion in your body. Your biomechanics are honed to industrial robot levels. Sleep is strictly limited to 5 hours and 40 minutes. REM sleep is suppressed by medication. Dreams carry uncontrollable emotions. Emotions burn unnecessary calories. Dreams are liquidated. You became the richest person on the planet in your understanding of wealth. Your currency is energy joules, liters of H2O, and milligrams of synthetic vitamins. You rule a concrete empire of 140 square meters. You are the only law. The system works flawlessly. Your status is absolute. Equipment failure probability under 2%. 10 years underground. You lost your human appearance but gained something else. You became an ideal survival function, an algorithm in a biological shell. No more need for sensor conversations. You don't need verbal language at all. Your vocal cords partially atrophied. Last time you spoke aloud was 13 months ago. Memories of mother, the sky, the smell of asphalt are deleted from RAM as redundant. Only metrics exist. Time to next pump check. UV dose for plants. You rewrote your neurobiology. You look at green indicators and feel the chemical equivalent of happiness. Dopamine is produced exclusively upon successful completion of a maintenance cycle. Math converged, equation solved. You can maintain this homeostasis for 30 more years. You look at your domain and sincerely believe you beat entropy. You think you achieved the ceiling, became the god of this concrete box, and outplayed the system. January 2038, you are 41. The illusion of your superiority ends. The system strikes back. Cascade failure doesn't start with a nuke. It starts with material fatigue. The reverse osmosis membrane has a guaranteed life of 100,000 hours. At hour 101,000, the polymer degrades. A 3-micron microcrack forms. Total dissolved solid sensor flags a breach. The bunker's absolute seal is destroyed. You try to shut the main, but water at 6 atmospheres has already passed. Contaminated groundwater enters the closed loop. Radioactive isotopes mix with nutrient solution. Heavy metals penetrate the root system. Irreversible process. Biology cannot filter strontium isotopes. In 48 hours, the farm dies. Cellular necrosis destroys your food base. You scrap the harvest, but the main drinking reservoir is also contaminated. No spare membrane, no alternative liquid source. A dry mathematical dilemma. Dehydration kills your CNS in 3 days. Internal radiation does it in weeks. You choose delayed death. You drink water that tastes like blood and old batteries. Internal radiation is the cruelest physiological dismantling. Strontium-90 is a chemical analog of calcium. Your body deceives itself. Your digestive system absorbs isotopes and builds them directly into bone tissue. Your skeleton is a radioactive reactor. It irradiates your internal organs from within, 24/7. A paradox. You have rations, but you are rapidly losing weight. You consume 2,000 calories, but your GI tract is no longer functioning. Radiation kills fast-dividing cells. Intestinal villi responsible for absorption die off. Biological absorption falls to 0. Food passes through as transit. You die of starvation with a full stomach. Absolute triumph of the system. It made you believe in reserves you physically cannot assimilate. 36 and 4 Roentgens per hour. Capillaries in the nasal cavity rupture. Your pulse is 112. Dose reached 410 rads. Your thyroid is necrotic tissue. You load the Glock. Bullet weight, 7.45 grams. That final excursion to the surface. The expedition for the mythic FEMA cache. You walk the wasteland, burning the last glycogen. No leukocytes in your blood. Zero immunity. The coordinates are a placeholder. The cache doesn't exist. A hallucination of an inflamed brain. On your knees in radioactive snow. Just the concrete skeleton of a destroyed world. You remember that office. April 9th, 2026. The survival contract. You betrayed $8 billion for a guaranteed ration. You were sure math was on your side. But the system of corporate ego you served is structurally incapable of long-term planning. You return. No strength to strip the suit. You just lie on cold metal. Your empire goes dark. Generator stops due to fuel filter clogging. Total darkness. Temperature drops 1.5 degrees per hour. Production quota is 0. Inventory written off. Burnout reached terminal stage. Your personal mathematical model of the collapse worked perfectly. 0 error margin. December 2038. End of algorithm. CNS starts terminal shutdown procedure. Temperature inside drops to -4 degrees. Hypothalamus orders peripheral vessel constriction. Limbs turn blue. Organism cuts their supply to save core heat. Respiratory rate falls to 7 breaths per minute. Oxygen consumption critical. Absolute vacuum silence. Turbine hum is dead. Optic nerve ceases photon impulse transmission. The handgun, 12 centimeters away. Insurance against slow death. You need a 4-Newton muscle contraction to pull the trigger. No more ATP in your synapses for that electrical impulse. Paralyzed by physiological weakness. Body math beat your will. Terminal GI bleeding. Isotopes burn the mucosa. Hypoxia in the brain. Phase of terminal neural hallucinations begins. Olfactory receptors generate a phantom signal. Burnt copper and stomach acid. Cheap instant coffee. The smell of the poverty-stricken apartment from 2005. The executive's face in the dark, silently watching your decay. The non-disclosure agreement turns into an eviction notice. Neurons close the logical circuit. You realize your main mathematical error. This bunker was never an escape pod. The system sold you an upgrade to your poverty. Childhood, concrete box, 90 square feet, eating waste. Death, concrete box, 140 square meters, eating waste. You sold humanity to trade cheap wallpaper for reinforced concrete. Your status never changed. To the system, you were always expendable biomass. Dose reaches 1,000 rads. DNA structure destroyed. Respiratory center stops generating impulses. Brain cortex electrical activity falls to 0. Body temperature matches environment. Physics wins. Statistics of your life. Years lived. 41. Earned survivor status and a corporate bunker. Spent 100%. Days in total isolation. 4,380. Soy protein consumed. 2,100 kilograms. Cause malnutrition against acute radiation syndrome. You died of starvation in a room full of food. Ideal mathematical irony. Myths versus reality. Hollywood sold you a false picture. Myth 1. The brutal lone hero conquering the wasteland. Reality. Sensory deprivation destroys the nervous system in 36 months. No mutants to fight. You'll just claw the concrete during panic attacks. Myth 2. The eternal bunker and infinite survival tech. Reality. All polymers have a shelf life. Rubber dries. Filters rot. Your sarcophagus kills you with a microcrack, not a nuke. Myth 3. 3-meter concrete saves you from radiation. Reality. Radiation is dust and isotopes in water. Isotopes build into your bones and burn you from within. Concrete doesn't help. If this story made you feel the metallic taste of copper, hit like. Subscribe and hit the bell. We tell stories they don't show in movies. In the next video, a new truth. Write a profession in the comments. Your voice decides a fate. Until next time.